that fat vape that's coming off the tower, they're evacuating all the propellants out of the fuel lines that go to starships, that go to the Starship, the second stage right here. That's what that is. They're basically pumping nitrogen up the lines here to get the methane and the liquid oxygen, there's the two, out. You don't want propellants inside of the pad. You're not trying to launch the launch pad into space. You're trying to put the vehicle into space. So they vent all the propellants overboard. On the tower, not on the vehicle. The vehicle does have these vent valves right there. Those vent valves are to make sure that you maintain the right pressure. You don't want to have your delta P change too much on the rockets. Delta P. No, change in pressure. You want your pressures to stay uniform inside of the fuel tanks. The problem is that your propellants are boiling because they're cryogenic propellants. The only way to store methane, which is generally found as a gas, and oxygen, which is obviously found as a gas down here, right? The only way to do that is to freeze the dang thing to get it to turn into liquid. Interestingly enough, freezing it turns it into liquid, and then if you freeze it even more, it turns to a solid. But in this particular case, the propellants are boiling because they're cryogenic, right? And when they boil, you have to keep constantly venting. You have to constantly vent. It's kind of sus, right? But you have to constantly vent to maintain your pressures. If you just sealed the tank and filled it up with propellants, it'll overpressurize and, well, balloon popping. We don't want that. So you do see periodic vents coming from the vehicle. But this one right here, the ground gas closeout, is a good indication of being ready for flight. That means they're moving the fuel out of the lines that go into Starship.
Exactly at T0, that 40-second hold is super helpful. If we need to, for example,
Can't tell, Oculus, I'm not sure.
You know, we need more time to pressurize the COPVs for flight levels.
Oh man.
You know, perhaps fuel.
If the engineers just need to look at some of the data, see how engines are performing, or the avionics.
Exactly, those checkouts. You know, being able to have the opportunity to top off the fuel or LOX if it's not fully loaded, and you know, we might want to just take a few more minutes for that. So that T-minus 40-second hold can be really helpful, but you know, we don't have that option on Falcon, so it's a little bit different here.
154.
Just inside T-minus 2 minutes and counting. The good news right now, we're hearing it doesn't look like we're going to need to hold a T-minus 40 second. As the boats are clearing out of the way. Next event coming up, TVC wiggles as we move the center engines on
thrust vector control checkout. They're basically making sure the steering wheel works. There's no steering wheel. Oh, there they go. Look at the engines.
A little bit there. 90 seconds. Wiggles are underway as we're checking out the first stage.
Okay, inside of 90 seconds here.
TVC checks are complete.
Oh my goodness.
Next major event we're going to hear, hopefully, is the flight director go for launch at T-minus 30 seconds.
Right, it was real quick, huh?
As we're coming up on T-minus 1 minute, when we get to T-minus 40 seconds, we'll just listen in. Last time, as you recall, we did hold at 40 seconds, but it took a few seconds for the clock to recover, so we're going to watch that. And as we press to T0, we're going to watch and listen the second test flight of Starship.
45. The cheering sounds like the clock is running. Countdown resumed, T-minus 35. Let's fly.
T-minus 30 seconds.
Holy crap.
Back to rapid recycle.
Hold. Hold. They called I heard recycle on the countdown net.
Back at Hawthorne, we're at T-minus 40 seconds in holding. We had a rapid recycle. We've not heard anything over the countdown net as the team works both first and second stages.
We've got about 20 minutes.
The nets here for a minute.
20 minutes of leeway, guys, so we'll see what happens. Ooh. Ooh. Nervous?
Got a little bit of an update. We're continuing to hold at T-minus 40 seconds. This is the normal hold point for Starship, as we talked earlier. Sounds like we're working just late pressurization on, I believe, the second stage. Team is working it. All the other systems are on hold right now at 40 seconds. We can hold here for about 15 minutes or so before we would run out of window for this morning.
Come on, baby.
So right now they're working on filling pressure vessels. And ideally we'll be able to solve this and come back and release the clock at T-minus 40 seconds. We're going to continue to listen and monitor for another few minutes.
So the computer's on board Starship, the auto sequencer. It saw something. It saw bad pressurization. Remember, I was talking about delta P a little bit earlier. You have to make sure the pressures are constant. If pressure in a tank is just
it's worth mentioning here
a little bit low,
that don't go away.
It could break something.
We're holding at T-minus 40 seconds, but once the teams have resolved and see the data that they want to see, the clock can restart straight away, and it'll start ticking down from T-minus 40 again, all towards liftoff.
Yeah, exactly. Now, while we do have the ability to hold for up to 30 minutes, we only have a 20-minute launch window, so don't go away, don't change the channel, and just like Shiva said, we can restart that clock, and there it is.
And there it goes.
Here we go. 35.
Rolling. T-minus 30 seconds.
Oh, man. 25. Okay. 20 seconds to the launch of IFT-2.
T-minus 15. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
Here we go.
5, 4, 3.
Sound suppressor is on. Ignition.
1. We have liftoff.
Liftoff. Fly, baby, fly! Yeah!
Vehicle pitching downrange.
Chambers pressure nominal.
We are T-plus 40 seconds into the flight of Starship. 33 Raptor engines powering the first stage.
Power and telemetry nominal.
We've heard
Good call for power and telemetry, man. No engines out.
Heading downrange over the Gulf of Mexico.
Going to max Q. I'm going to move over the other side.
And that call out tells us Starship is through the period of greatest stress on the way to space.
Through maximum dynamic pressure. Here we go. That's the highest load induced on the vehicle.
Hot staging in just over 90 seconds from now. To get ready, the booster will shut down all but 3 of the Raptor engines. Clamps holding the 2 stages together will release, and the Starship's second stage will ignite its engines. Starship will then separate from the Super Heavy booster and head to space.
Dude.
And at the same time, the 3 engines that are still firing on Super Heavy will flip the booster around. 10 more engines will ignite for the boost back burn, putting the first stage on path for a splashdown in the Gulf of Mexico.
Come on. What a shot. Coming up to engine cutoff here. All the engines are going to shut down except the center 3 on Super Heavy.
Engine power continues to look nominal on 33 Raptor engines.
How?
We're about to
That's
shut down
so
the first stage
impressive,
and
dude.
perform staging. Let's watch and listen.
Come on.
And acquisition of signal Houston and New Orleans.
AOS through another ground station here.
Booster engine cut off.
There's hot staging.
Stage separation.
Oh my goodness! Holy shnikes! Look at that! Oh my goodness! That was impressive! Oh my goodness, they lost some motors, it looks like.
The first ever successful hot stage for SpaceX's
Holy
Starship.
Incredible views of our Super Heavy booster.
Oh!
As you can see, the Super Heavy booster has just experienced a rapid unscheduled disassembly. However, our ship is still underway.
It didn't like that.
Power and telemetry nominal.
And we just heard there, ship avionics.
But Starship is going, man. It made it away from it.
As you can see,
Oh my
clearly
goodness.
there at the bottom right-hand side of your screen. Now, we did know that the
flight termination system worked.
hot staging was going to be incredibly dynamic. We knew that there was a chance that the booster would not survive, but we're going to take that data and figure out how we can make the booster better
That's
for the next
impressive,
hot
dude.
stage.
Yeah, that hot staging put a lot of load on the top of the booster.
Yeah.
And of course, it flipped around there, a lot of dynamic stuff happening. But ship is still going strong.
And it's doing great. Right now, the ship, the second stage,
Oh my
is
goodness.
on its way. Like we said,
Oh
you can
my
see all
goodness.
6 of its engines are ignited. The next major milestone for the ship will be the shutdown of those engines, or SECO, second engine cutoff, which if you
Okay.
follow our Falcon 9 launches,
That was
familiar
awesome.
terminology there.
But we're not done.
So far,
That
today
number over
has
there
been
needs to be like
incredibly
27,000,
successful,
guys.
even with the RUD of the Super Heavy booster. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Primary objective
said
of the
it, Kate.
booster today, to get to hot staging, to get ship on its way to orbit. It did that admirably.
Yeah, we definitely asked.
Starship trajectory nominal.
Oh my dude,
All
it's
right,
actually
there, that
working.
trajectory
Oh my
for ship
goodness.
is
Acquisition of
nominal.
signal, Cape Canaveral.
Once
AOS through the
Starship's second
Cape, baby.
stage is firing those engines, and as you just heard,
It's above the
everything's
Kármán
looking
line. Good call.
Now for the ship,
Starship
we,
is in
wanted
space.
it to survive hot staging, which, as you can see there by that little.
It's
dot
not to
on your
orbit yet,
screen,
but
it
in
did.
space is.
We also
It's there.
want to basically demonstrate that the successful startup of that of those engines, demonstrating controlled ascent, which is what it's doing right now, and eventually orbital insertion. We are hoping to basically send this around the Earth,
gotta be kidding
and
me.
if it makes it this far, splash down in the Pacific Ocean,
Right, Bronze?
a couple hundred miles north of Hawaii. Now, if we get that far, like all of that sounds great. Secondary objectives for
There
ship,
should be cameras
again,
on board,
continuing
Funky.
to
I'm not sure if we got a
gather
picture, though.
engine data and about its health, performance.
Nominal ship chamber pressures.
Great news there. That tells us that
Good
the
report
chamber
from Flight
pressures
Dynamics.
inside of the Starship, again, that's that small dot on your screen. Basically the propellant pressures in the ship are looking good.
Yeah, the bottom right corner of your screen, you can see essentially a user interface showing
Yeah,
us which engines
way
are
past
lit.
it.
So the
Drummer,
three
way past
center
it.
sea-level Raptor engines on ship are
We'll
gimbal
find out later.
engines. The 3 outer engines in the triangle, the larger
Nice
ones are Raptor vacuum engines. All of them continuing to fire nominally, so they're at the pressures that we expect to try to get into our target trajectory today.
Yeah.
And we're not targeting orbit today. We're targeting almost orbit today. That's very intentional as part of the mission design. The goal is to get to a thrust profile similar to what we would need for orbit,
It's okay,
but
Hire.
also
And
to get
expected
to
loss
the
of
energy
signal,
levels
Houston.
that the ship would need to dissipate for re-entry. And so we're actually going in a suborbital trajectory today, but that trajectory will get us to the energy levels that we need at re-entry, where we can really stress that heat shield
Flume is
and
being
get valuable
illuminated
data
by
on
the sun.
re-entry. And those calls that we are still on a nominal
Dude.
trajectory here and seeing nominal pressures means that we have a really good shot of hitting our target orbit.
Yeah.
Past
Now,
20,000,
if the
7 minutes,
booster
30
had
seconds into the flight,
survived,
148
we would
kilometers
be,
on Starship.
Around the time where it would be getting ready to land, performing its
Everything.
re-entry, but it unfortunately did not survive. That being said, that's okay. It
I'm not sure what that
survived
outgassing was.
several
Terminal guide.
seconds after
Starship's in
hot
terminal
staging,
guidance.
So we're going to take that data
We're close.
and improve the hot staging sequence and probably improve the hardware itself for the next flight.
$24,000. So 27,000 is orbit. That looked like a stage shut. That did not look like a stage shutdown. That did not look like a stage shutdown. It may have been, but it got awfully quiet.
They're standing by for a call out here. Coming up on the projected time that ship would shut down its engines.
There's no telemetry there. Come on. Come on. Come on.
As you can tell by the excitement from the crowd here at Mission Control Center in Hawthorne, there's a great view of our Star Command Center. That's our control center at Starbase Texas. The crowd here, Mission Control Center behind us in Hawthorne. Everyone is super exciting. What a successful day this has been so far.
Yeah, awaiting acquisition of signal. It looked like the engine shut down, and then there was another pop after that, and then the telemetry went out. So that could be a couple of different things. They could have just gone what's called over the hill.
To this point,
so you have a loss of signal for a second.
Milestones through hot
or
staging,
it
which is
exploded.
the big objective today.
Could be one or the other.
So we are going to head into the coast phase.
There's Elon.
Planned
and
for
his
the
brother
next
right there. That's
about
Kimball
hour
next to
and
him.
5 minutes. We'll be returning around the T+1
I think that's
hour
Kiko
and 15
Donchip
minute
right
mark.
there. He's a
And
SpaceX flight controller.
While we're waiting for Starship to continue on to its next step for re-entry, we're not totally sure what video we're going to get. And that video comes normally by overflying ground stations, but we don't have a ton along our flight path. So fingers crossed that we will get some via Starlink on this mission since we're testing that out. And also give us a moment. We are hearing some chatter on the net, so we're going to try to parse that for you.
Just parse it for me, bud. Come on. Hey, there's Chris G. There's Chris G. Over on the left. Hey, my guy. Hey, sweet. That's cool. I've worked with that guy before. Chris G was a commentator and editor for NASA Spaceflight for a long time until Elon poached him. Elon's like, I want you. He's like, all right. The guy in the hat, the guy with the hat with the multicolored vest on, that's Kimball Musk. That's Elon's brother.
We're back here in Hawthorne at our webcast desk. We have lost the data from the second stage. We had heard a call out that we were in terminal guidance, which means we were getting near the end of the approximately 6-minute burn of Starship. But we haven't gotten any more data since then, so we think we may have lost the second stage. So we would not be into coast phase. We wouldn't be able to come back in an hour or so and possibly get ready for reentry. However, what we do know right now is we had an on-time launch at 7 o'clock. We got through the boats. First stage looked beautiful with 33 Raptor engines firing. We got the hot staging, you know, the thing that we really wanted to see and impressed. We saw the separation. We saw the flip maneuver. We saw the light up of the 6 Raptor engines on Starship, and it headed away. Everything really looked good. But what we do believe right now is that the automated flight termination system on second stage appears to have triggered very late in the burn as we were headed downrange out over the Gulf of Mexico. But the real topping on the cake today, that successful liftoff, Kate, Shiva, the hot staging is just beautiful.
So cool.
Exactly what we were looking for.
Yeah,
cool.
ultimately, what honestly such an incredibly successful day. Even though we did have a RUD, or a rapid unscheduled disassembly, of both the Super Heavy booster and the ship, that's great. We got so much data, and that will all help us to improve for our next flight.
Of course, and that's why we flight test, and you can bet that there's going to be more to come. So we really do want to thank you all for joining us. Of course, we want to thank the people of Cameron County. We want to thank all the federal agencies that have supported us for our test. And of course, a huge congratulations to the entire SpaceX team on getting through this flight test today. And I think with that, we're going to sign off from here in Hawthorne.
Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
It popped. Yeah, it popped. How about that, huh? How about